Welcome back. Joe Brunsman, insurance broker to the stars. And today, for my fellow SMBs out there, you are not Colonial Pipeline, and that should scare you. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. Now, first of all, you should realize there is this giant misconception out there. If you haven't already gotten over this, now is the time to do it. You may be thinking, oh, well, they were specifically targeting somebody that large. It's only the big guys that get targeted. That's a false sense of security. It's just confirmation bias. Why is that? It's because local news is dying out. National news is generally not going to write a story about some local business that got hit with ransomware. So it's really the preponderance of businesses that get hit with ransomware and data breach are actually SMBs like us. So here is why I think you should really be scared of ransomware and some lessons that we can take away from this Colonial Pipeline event. Now, first of all, if your business gets hit with some type of ransomware, the president is not going to be briefed. Frankly, nobody's going to care but you. So you are going to be very alone going through this process. Next, the government's not going to offer unlimited funding to you. What do I mean by that? Now, did the government just outright say, hey, we're just going to offer money to Colonial Pipeline? No, but let's look pragmatically here. If Colonial Pipeline, which offered 45% of fuel to the East Coast, was ever in danger of going under, there's no way the federal government or state governments are going to allow that to happen. Your business, however, if you get hit with a ransomware event and you don't have the appropriate policies, procedures, and controls in place, yeah, you very well could go bankrupt. I mean, if you just can't get that information back, you don't have the money to spend on forensics, et cetera, that's just what it is. No one's going to come and save you. Next, you're not going to have unlimited personnel. I promise you that when this went down, every brilliant mind in the private world of cybersecurity was like, whatever you need, I will be there. Colonial Pipeline could have called anybody and they would have shown up to assist with this. Likewise, and without giving away classified information, I am very, very positive, I will say, that the United States government has teams of individuals whose only job is to come in following some type of cyber event, a data breach, a ransomware event at these very, very large companies. Are they going to come and help your company? Not a chance. They just don't have enough people to do that. Now, if you're a Colonial Pipeline, you're a Target, you're a Home Depot, yeah, you'll get those type of resources. But if you're average Joes like us, that's just not going to happen. Next, Colonial Pipeline, I bet they had, 24-hour shifts, people in triplicate working on this problem, getting this back up to speed, unlimited resources effectively. That's not going to be your business. And if you can get back up in 5 days, frankly, you've done a lot beforehand to make sure that you could make that happen. Generally, downtime that we're seeing is roughly 2 weeks until you're back up and fully operational again. So obviously there are some segments in there, but even Colonial with essentially unlimited funding, unlimited personnel, unlimited resources at their disposal, it still took them 5 days to get back up. They still had to pay the ransom. And oh, by the way, there's still like some intermittent service issues that they're dealing with. So there's still a lot going on in the background that you as a business owner, if you've never gone through this, you'd be totally unaware of. But suffice to say, it's very stressful, very time consuming, and not a fun time. Next, OFAC will not give you a waiver. So if you haven't, I'll link to it up above here. There are specific circumstances where paying the ransom is against the law and will land you on a sanctions list. Now, if Colonial had been hit by some strain of malware that was from some sanctioned entity, would OFAC give them a waiver? Absolutely. There's no question that would occur. If your business got hit with a strain of malware that was on that sanction list, would you be given that waiver? Not a chance in hell. I promise you, they would set the precedent on you, whereas these big organizations, that's just not going to happen. So that's just kind of one more thing. Next, recovery is not a smooth process. It's not a fun process. It's not a smooth process. There's probably a whole bunch going on, really on the inside workings of Colonial Pipeline where there's files that have been corrupted. Maybe they were trying to negotiate with the guys that hit them with ransom. And I've seen this before from my own clients where they're talking to the guy, they've got the negotiator in there, they're trying to lower that ransom, get that key back as soon as possible. And then the guy just stops communicating with them. Why? They're in a different time zone. Maybe he just decided, hey, you know what? This is one of 100 people I'm communicating with right now. I don't give a damn about them. It's not my business. I'm going to the club, or hey, I'm going to go take a nap, or maybe I'm going to go hang out at my pool. It is not a smooth process from beginning to end. It's not as simple as, hey, you pay the ransom, you get the decryptor key, and then everything's hunky-dory and you move about with your life. There's a lot more to it than that, which for the sake of this video, to keep it brief, I will not jump into. But I just want you to know it's not fun. It's not smooth. There's a whole bunch of stress underlying that hopefully you haven't had to deal with. Hopefully you won't have to deal with it. But if you do, it's rough. All right. So I just want everybody to kind of think about this as I get off my soapbox here. Go out, talk to your IT, talk to your MSP, right? Try and figure out, okay, what should we implement now that will have the biggest impact? What's the biggest bang for the buck we can implement now to try and minimize the probability that we have to deal with an event like this? Now, understanding that you are probably a fellow SMB and you're going, hey, I don't have unlimited resources. You know, I can't just adhere to every control in this CSF all at once. I can't bring in, a full team of cybersecurity guys 24 hours a day. Well, think about a plan of implementation. So at least you have that. So you can say, okay, right now, you know what, we're just going to implement formalized security awareness training as an example. And then 6 months down the line, we're going to have the funding for this, and on and on and on, right? Make sure that you at least have something in place that you're planning on doing, have a plan of action. As we say in the Navy, failing to plan is planning to fail. Also, make sure you have tested your backups. If you don't have backups or redundant backups, refer to bullet point number 1 up there about talking to your IT, talking to your MSP. And if all of this fails, do you have an appropriate cyber insurance policy? Now, I just want to say, yes, I do cyber insurance. However, cyber insurance should really be thought of as health insurance, right? Just because you have health insurance doesn't mean you can just eat yourself into a diabetic coma and everything is going to be fine. So think of cyber insurance as the very last element in that defense in depth. That defense in depth should be a detailed conversation and implementation with your internal IT or your MSP. And when in doubt, seek legal counsel. All right, with that, this is my book, Damage Control, Cyber Insurance Compliance. That is where you can download it for free. If you like this type of information, you found it useful, you learned something, like, share, comment, and subscribe because it feeds the algorithm. And I put out a new video every Thursday. With that, stay safe.